All right, family, welcome. Welcome to another reading of Voices of Gehenna. Tonight, I will be reading chapter 4 of Voices of Gehenna. If you're new here, make sure to check out the previous chapters. It's an interesting story so far. Tonight is going to be chapter 4 as we continue the adventures of Benjamin Hill, aka Benny, who is an employee at GSP Prison, Gehenna State Prison, which is a prison for supernatural entities. So tonight, I'm going to read chapter 4. So join me, family, and don't mind the background noise. As you take a ride on this adventure of Benny. And if you're new to this, on my community tab, I've been posting like character concept art of certain characters in the story using Hero Forge. Hero Forge is like a app you can use to create figures, like for Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. Well, I use Hero Forge to create characters and custom characters. So I've been using Hero Forge to create some of the characters from the story, Voices of Gehenna. And I will be continuing to use Hero Forge to create some of the characters that I can. Now I know some of the characters in the story that I described, I ain't gonna be able to use Hero Forge. But for the characters I could, I'm gonna use Hero Forge to create concept art. I just want to put that out there. So y'all make sure y'all check out my pictures of the characters on my community tab on my main channel. I appreciate it. Let me know what y'all think. I will continue to create more characters from Hero Forge. But all right, family, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Voices of Gehenna, chapter 4. I made it to the mess hall for the prison's employees. It was full of workers. Most of them were guards. I felt my anxiety kicking in as they stared at me. The vampires had a vending machine filled with blood bags inside. They also had separate microwaves to warm their blood. Vampires prefer their blood warm. The werewolves were sitting together and chowing down on their grub. One of them snarled at me and gave me a look of disapproval. The Brogonites and orcs were loud and telling jokes. Brogonites are intimidating in my opinion. I read the history about them, and most people refer them to as tall black terrors or bearded black devils. Imagine Kimbo Slice, 7 to 9 feet tall, with a huge beard, built with solid muscle, and have superhuman strength and durability. Well, that's a Broganite. The women are just as fierce as the men. Another thing I noticed about the prison guards were their uniforms. The human and werewolf guards wore black and white or gray and black camo uniforms. The Broganite and Orc guards wore desert style camo. The vampire guards wore all black. The magic user guards wore blue and black camo. I proceeded to the lunch counter to check the menu. They were serving chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy. They also had menus for the other races too. Most elves and fae tend to avoid meat dishes. The Brogonites, orcs, and werewolves were serious meat eaters. Of course, we know vamps consume blood. I went up to the server and asked for a plate of food. He fixed my plate, and I looked around to find a place to sit. I'm not going to lie to you. It felt like I was in high school all over again. You know, like the cliques people form in high school lunchrooms? To me, it was absurd to see people doing this shit in workplaces. For the love of Christ, we all supposed to be freaking adults here. Hey, new guy, come sit with us, a man said with a cheerful voice. I turned around and saw an African American man with glasses on waving at me. He was dressed all geeked out. His hair was bleached blonde, styled into a high top fade, and his skin was dark, Sitting with him was another young lady. She was melanated and dressed like a gothic chick. Her hair was styled in pigtails. A heavy-set Caucasian man was sitting with them too. I approached their table, and they welcomed me. "I'm assuming you Mr. Benjamin Hill," the nerdy man asked. "Yeah, I'm Benjamin Boaz Hill, but you could call me Benny," I answered. He extended his hand to me, and I shook his hand. "I'm Mr. Tech-tastic, the lead of the tech department. This young lady over here is Victoria Darkbane. She is a nocturne, also known as a raven angel. This big fella over here is Ernie Rogers." I sat down at the table with the tech workers. "Nice to meet you all." "Don't be shy, Benny. Dig in and chat with us," Victoria Darkband said with a bubbly voice. If you don't like the food, pass it over to me," Ernie Rogers said. Ernie Rogers added while chewing a piece of meat. "Stop being so greedy, Ernie. You know the doctor said you have to lose a few pounds," Mr. Tech-tastic mentioned. "Nonsense. My mother say I am well the way I am. I never miss a meal, especially if it's from her," Ernie replied. "Dr. Stengel may be a vampire, but he does know his stuff when it comes to health," Victoria said. "Yeah, he does, but I still prefer a human doctor to check me out. The only reason Dr. Stengel checks me out is that it's part of the benefits being applied here. The employees at GSP get free medical assistance," Ernie replied while chewing. "Moron, it's free because we are liabilities. The IFIB knows that most of its employees don't last long at Gehenna. Most of them quit in a few months, or some of them end up getting killed by an inmate," Mr. Tech-tastic mentioned. "Are you serious, Mr. Tech-tastic?" I asked with concern. He sighed. "Yeah, new guy. Some employees get killed or maimed by the monsters we keep here. Some of the shit they have down there is nightmare fuel in real time." "Maybe it's the guards that get killed the most because they are around the prisoners the most," I replied. "Bingo! I knew I could count on you, new guy. You are bright, like your resume said. I think you'll make it here at GSP," Mr. Tech-tastic said. The nocturne girl glanced and smiles at me. "Yeah, Benny, you can do it. Show them Master who's boss," she cheered. "So why do they call you Mr. Tech-tastic?" I asked. I'm a technomancer. I'm a technomancer, and working tech is my specialty. I'm also an Afro-human. Technomancy is my superpower. I can communicate with technology and control it. Meaning, if I wanted to open a safe at a bank, I could command all the cybersecurity to cease working. I was born with this gift, and my powers began to surface at the age of 5. "What about you, Victoria Darkbane?" I asked the nocturne gothic girl. "Well, I belong to a race of soups known as nocturnes. We have supernatural abilities like vampires, but none of their weaknesses. We could live long like them, but we could also be killed. My kind, my kind can sprout black angel wings and fly. No, we are not fallen angels. Most humans assume that because of our raven wings. The Nocturne's mission is to protect humanity from predators of the supernatural races. This was the covenant established by our creator, Jophiel." "What about you, Ernie Rogers?" I asked the big man. "I'm just an average Joe who loves to eat, fix on computers, and watch football. I am normal and have no superpowers or strange transformations. Thank God for that, because there are enough freaks in those cells at this prison." "Thanks for answering my question, guys," I replied to the tech crew. "You're welcome, Benny," they replied in unison. I admit I was enjoying the company of the tech crew workers. Mr. Techtastic is very knowledgeable about technology. Victoria is cute and cheerful. She is the perfect gothic Lolita for cosplay. She appears to be in her early 20s, but can possibly be way older than me. Many beings over here look younger than me, but they can also be old enough to be my parents or grandparents. The world I work in is getting stranger and stranger. It was also good to see another normal human like Ernie. He could eat like a pig, but he knows all the stats of the players of his favorite team. I also noticed Victoria's eyes were a purple color. Her eyes were unique and exotic. She also had purple streaks in her hair. I'm not going to lie, I was attracted to her. I know this is a workplace and I must remain focused on my mission. I don't want to get my ass kicked by the warden. A few minutes after I was done eating, I spotted Ronnie and two orc prison guards walking toward us. I recognized one of the orcs. It was the orc at the security station known as Bobby. Bobby had a Bobby had a huge grin on his face. "What's up, Benny?" Ronnie shouted. "Nothing much. Just finishing up my food and talking with the tech crew," I answered. "I heard Warden Jabril took you on a tour to meet some of the inmates. I'm glad to see you still here, bro. Most people that apply for your position don't last after the first tour. Some also quit after the first couple of interviews," Ronnie replied. "I could promise you I will hold my ground, Captain Ronnie. I trust your security team to protect me," I replied. Bobby the Orc started laughing at me. "Ha ha ha ha. Boy, I smell that false confidence on you a mile away. You ain't ready for the prisoners at Gehenna. Hey, Captain, I think this runt should turn back while he can." "I don't think so, Burrowface. I don't think so, Burrowface. Benny is going to do well. His resume states that he helped prisoners at the former prisons he worked at before. Benny interviewed them and listened to their stories. Some of them decided to change their views on life. He was able to get a few of them pardoned for release," Captain Ronnie admitted. "Nonsense, Captain. This isn't normal prisoners he's dealing with over here at GSP. He is dealing with every nightmare imagined in his mind. Most of the beings here are beyond redeemed. It's football." "Hey, Baldface, I'm going to prove you wrong," I barked at the orc. Bobby's eyes got huge and couldn't believe I stood up for myself. "What the hell you just called me runt?" he asked while stepping into my face. "I call you Boarface. I call you Boarface," I said to him while staring at his face. The huge orc's face was full of fury. He grunted and tried to strike me, but Ronnie caught his huge fish in time. "Hey, Bobby, knock it off and leave Billy alone," Captain Ronnie demanded. "Hell no," Bobby barked. "Let's take this outside so I can show you some manners. Talk is cheap, but can you back that shit up, runt?" "Chill out, Bobby. Don't let that orcish rage cause you to get suspended without pay," Captain Ronnie said. The huge muscular orc stood down and went outside. Truth be told, he would have beat my ass in a fight. Bobby stood at 6'6", and he was a pure orc, full of testosterone and rage. I'm glad Captain Ronnie intervened because I didn't want to get my ass kicked in front of everyone. "That was brave of you, Benny, but foolish. Never challenge an orc if you can't back it up. If I wasn't here, Bobby would have given you the ass whipping of a lifetime," Captain Ronnie mentioned. "At least he stood up for himself. Truth be told, I can't stand that tusk-faced son of a bitch," Mr. Techtastic stated. "Yeah, you go, Benny!" Victoria Darkbane cheered. "Well, you have my respect, Benny. About time someone stood About time someone stands up for the common humans around here. Even some of the alpha humans don't stand up to Bobby. Ernest said while Ernest said while eating a bag of chips. Ha! Ha! I see the tech crew is taking quite fond of you, Captain Ronnie said. Yeah, they are cool, and I have no problem, I replied. You should come visit us at our tech lab someday. We are located on the level 3 of the prison. Just slide your key card to the door and the door open. Looking forward to seeing you soon, new guy, Mr. Techtastic said with glee. I left the lunch area and headed to my workspace. I sat at my desk and logged into my computer. The vampire workers in my area are quiet. You can barely notice them. Shanice would sit at her desk working. I would be wise to leave her to her studies. I witnessed a young man using telepathic powers to move objects around. He must be a psychic or a fake. Anyway, I proceeded to pull up dossiers of the inmates on my computer. I started viewing levels 1 and 2 first. The warden told me to select 3 inmates to interview. I thought about Herman the doppelganger and Bojenka the teenage witch. The database also had a feature to choose inmates by race, culture, and type of being they are. I was shocked to see that they had a few yokai at GSP. Level 1 had a few Kappa. Level 2 had a Yuki Onna and a Bakaneko, who I found out to be a prominent member, Yakuza member. Level 3 had a Kasune woman and an Aobozu, who are giant blue monks. I might pass on the yokai for now. I really want to interview old Rolandback, the elder fate. I hope Warden Jabril approves of me interviewing old Rolandback. I tried to get info on levels 5 to 7, but I was denied access. I assumed this must be classified info. The inmates on those levels must be the true threats. I was only allowed to pull up dossiers of inmates of levels 1 through 4. I started to search level 4 inmates and came across some tough customers and baddies. They had a serial killer known as Gripper the Clown. Gripper was a Broganite clown who stood over 8'2" tall. He had a death grip and can rip his victims apart with his strength. They also had a powerful elven sorcerer named Elias Naelgraf. I ventured back to level 3 dossiers. They had a killer sylph known as Psycho Gale. He was known to use his wind power to kill people. His real name was Sebastian Scythewind. They had a succubus known as Yesenia Moya. She was active throughout the border states around Mexico. I came across an interesting dossier of an inmate known as Death Circuit. He's from Colombia and has the power to emit electricity. Basilio Tafala, known as Death Circuit, was a notorious alpha-human villain. I selected him as one of my choices. I felt a cold tap on my shoulder and turned to see it was the vampire lab worker, Selena. She greeted me with a smile. I see you browsing the dossiers of the inmates of the prison. Do you need any suggestions? Selena Martin asked while staring at my computer screen. There are many interesting beings here, and it's going to be a tough choice to make. So far, I selected Death Circuit. He seems like a cool guy, but I really want to interview old Rolandback first. I know he's dangerous and all, but I want to face this challenge, I told Selena. I think Death Circuit is a good choice, Benny. You should also interview Bojenka, the teenage witch of the Purple Crescent Coven. Bojenka? Oh, hell no. She would be on the least of my list, I ranted. Come on, she's not that bad. She may be a witch, but Bojenka is really a great person. She even made friends with Hellhound Hilly. Give her a chance, Bennett, Selena Martin replied. While I was explaining my reasons for not wanting to interview Bojenka, 2 other workers came to my station. One of them was a short man with a brown beard. He stood about 4'10" and was built stocky. His skin was brown and his eyes were green. He was carrying a wizard staff in his left hand. This man had to have been a dwarven wizard. The other person was the young man I spotted earlier using telepathy. He was a light-skinned African American with a braided fade cut. He was built athletic and stood at 6 foot tall. Greetings, Mr. Benjamin Hill. I am Jeremiah Wisebeard, and this young lad over here is Tristan Wallace, an alpha human with telepathic powers, with telepathy powers. I am a wizard and teacher of the arcane arts, the dwarf said. I see you're trying to pick up who to interview tomorrow. Maybe we could help you with that, Mr. Hill. Jeremiah's wisdom goes a long way. You could always trust a wizard's wisdom, Tristan Wallace said. Jeremiah Wisebeard rubs his long beard. It will be wise for you to get a couple of weeks of experience before you interview old Rollenback. He's a trickster and not to be trusted. He also doesn't like to be disturbed while he's sleeping or meditating. It would be wise for you to stay away from Rollenback. I am skilled with telepathy, and my code name is Iron Mind. My mental powers are feeble compared to a being like old Rollenback. He would turn my mind into mush. I would end up in an insane asylum, Tristan Wallace admitted. Listen to both of them. Listen to both of them, Benny. Jeremiah Wisebeard and Iron Mind have your best interest, just like I do, Selena Martin said while grinning. I knew they meant well, but I still decided to choose old Rollenback as one of my choices. I didn't tell them, and I waited for them to leave my area. That was my first time meeting a dwarf. I didn't expect to see a dwarven wizard. Usually they are mining, crafting, and destroying things. As for Iron Mind, the young alpha human, I'm tired of seeing young people trying to advise me. I should be advising them. I should be advising him not to get carried away showing off his powers to people. I made my choices and was ready to proceed to the warden's office. I walked to the warden's office with my head up high. I entered his office and found him sitting in his golden chair. Come on in, Mr. Hill, and sit down. Show me your choices so I could approve of them, Real demanded. As he was going through the dossiers, I noticed a serious look on his face. He slammed the folders on his desk. Mr. Hill, his voice boomed. I can't allow you to interview the inmate known as Old Rollenback. Why? I questioned. You dare to question my authority, boy? Do you know who I am? He asked in a serious tone. The warden calling me a boy had me upset. I didn't care if he was over 300 years old. His ass looked like a damn 20 to 25-year-old smartass. I'm sorry for questioning you, sir, I pleaded. Look, Mr. Hill, how about you interview 3 inmates I choose? If you succeed with these, then I might consider you to interview the elder fate. I could do that. Just name them and I will study the dossiers at home, I replied with relief. This is your first day on the job, Mr. Hill. I don't want you to die early. You're green and still have a lot to learn at GSP. I also heard that you almost got into a fight with Bobby the Art Guard. You're lucky for Captain Ronnie being there, or your ass would have been stomped and thrown around like a rag doll. I admit it. I admit it was foolish of me to get in his face, but he started it. I got tired of his bullshit, so I stood up for myself. I protested. The warden had a stern look on his face. Sometimes you have to know when to walk away. You're not a warrior, Mr. Hill. Your job is to interview the inmates here. Bobby the Orc is an experienced combat vet and a great fighter. A mere human like you would be considered prey in Arkish lands. I felt humiliated again by Wharton's comments. I felt humiliated again by the Wharton's comments. I hated to admit it to myself, but he was right. I am not a fighter nor a tough guy. Sure, I had a couple of fights in school. My father taught me how to defend myself as a young boy. As I got older, I tend to mind my business and try not to start stuff with people. I would try not to start anything with Bobby again, sir, I said. All right, then my selections for you are Death Circuit, Herman Wright, the Doppelganger, and Kanisha Jones, aka Bojinka, the Teenage Witch. Warden Jabril stated, I had an uneasy feeling in my stomach. I didn't want to interview that annoying witch girl. I have no choice, so I must man the hell up. I left the warden's office and headed back to my workstation. I think for my first choice, I would go with the doppelganger. Herman seems like an interesting being. All right, family, that was the chapter 4 of Voices of Gehenna. Chapter 4, I read chapter 4. Y'all excuse me for if I was slurring a little bit. I was in the weather today. I might be a little under the weather, but I made it through. All praises, I made it through. So that was Voices of Gehenna chapter 4. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and I'm gonna premiere this on my YouTube channel. So y'all be on the lookout, family. Y'all be on the lookout, and let me know what y'all think. There was an interesting chapter so far. We understand Benny. He went to the mess hall, which is the dining room for the workers at the prison. He met the tech crew, Mr. Fantastic, Victoria Darkband, which is a nocturne. That's what type of being she is. And Ernie Rogers, he just a normal guy, normal nerd, kind of heavy set, fat nerd, the fat nerdy guy, typical fat nerdy guy. Mr. Tech-tastic, he like a genius type character, and then he met a first wizard character, Jeremiah Wisebeard, which is a dwarf. He is a dwarf. I'm gonna eventually make his character on Hero Forge. I'm definitely gonna make Jeremiah Wisebeard, and I might do Tristan Wallace too, aka Iron Mind. Now Iron Mind, he like a superhero type character. You see the Alpha Humans, they like humans with superpowers, basically like X-Men, meta humans, like in the DC universe, the meta humans. So I say I'm gonna come up with my own term, alpha humans, Alpha humans just mean they meta humans, like in the DC universe or the Marvel universe, mutants, inhumans, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing, you get inspired by certain comics and shows, so far, and look like we might, and so far, Bennett looked like he might have a thing for Victoria Darkband. We're just gonna have to see how this plays out. He might have a thing. He eyeing Victoria, so we just gonna see, will he be with Victoria or not? We're just gonna have to see how this plays out. And then he got into it with Bobby the Orc. He almost got in a fight with Bobby the Orc. Now let's be real, man. Bobby would have busted him up in that lunchroom. Bobby would have punched him. Bobby would have knocked him out in one hit. Benny, man, what you doing, Benny? You trying to challenge a 6'6" orc to a fight, and you just 6'1"? Come on now. And he a combat veteran, and he got experience. Good. If it wasn't for Ronnie, if it wasn't for Captain Ronnie, Benny would have got his ass kicked, man. I'm real talk. Benny would have got his ass whooped by Bobby the Orc. But let me know what y'all think, though, fam. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this, man. Like I said, this was a good chapter. Like I said, previous chapter was off the chain. So stay tuned for chapter 5. Y'all gonna love chapter 5, because that's when you're gonna start interviewing some of the inmates, just putting that out there. But yeah. All right, fam. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down and get ready to premiere it on my channel. Y'all just be on the lookout.